To my mind, if you only took away one thing from the hearing today, it was the silence that sat heavy in the room before the storm broke. Imagine a man sitting alone at a wooden table, surrounded by the flashing lights of cameras and the hostile stares of a committee that has already decided his fate. It is the year 2026. The air in Washington is different now, charged with a kind of electric menace that wasn't there before. And in the center of it all sits Jack Smith, a figure who looks less like a modern prosecutor and more like something unearthed from a bygone era, a relic of a time when facts were solid things that you could hold in your hand. He does not flinch. He does not shout back. He simply sits there while the accusations rain down on him like stones. They call him a disgrace to humanity, a radical, a criminal. These are not just words thrown around in a backroom argument. They are the official stance of the United States government. The former president, now returned to power, has posted about this man 185 times, branding him deranged, demanding his imprisonment. You can feel the weight of those threats pressing against the walls of the hearing room. It is a spectacle, a carnival of absurdity designed to break a single man. But as you watch him, you realize something unsettled is happening. The man is not breaking. Before we step further into this strange, dark theater, I want you to take a moment and ground yourself. We are witnessing history shift beneath our feet, and I want to know who is watching with me. If you are listening to this, pause for a second, hit that like button, and tell me in the comments exactly where you are in the world and what time it is right now. Are you safe in your living room? Are you driving through the rain? Mark your place and time as we tell this story, so we know we aren't alone in remembering the truth. Now, look back at Jack Smith. The shouting dies down for a split second, and he leans into the microphone. He knows that the Department of Justice, the very institution he served, has been hollowed out. He knows that the people asking him questions are performing for an audience of one. Yet, when he speaks, his voice is steady, almost boring in its calmness. He says quite simply that he will not be intimidated. He refuses to pretend that serious crimes did not happen just because the man who committed them is powerful enough to threaten him. In that moment, he is like a sober man who has wandered into a drunk bar at 1 a.m, out of place, dangerously exposed, but the only one who sees the room for what it really is. To understand why Jack Smith's presence in that room felt so jarring, almost like a glitch in the Matrix, you have to understand the world that has been built around him. We are not just talking about a change in administration. We are talking about the rise of what observers are calling a clicktatorship. This is a government where governance has been replaced by the spectacle of menace. Think about the sheer absurdity of the backdrop against which this hearing takes place. We are living in a reality where an immigration officer, in the act of shooting a citizen, pauses not to hesitate, but to switch his cell phone from one hand to the other so he can keep recording the violence for content. It is a world where top advisors are reportedly more concerned with coordinating tweets and posting photos from Windsor Castle, risking the exposure of intelligence agents, than they are with the actual machinery of state. Everything is content. Everything is a performance. And then you have the Department of Justice itself. It has been transformed into something that one commentator described as Tammany Hall with nukes. It is a complete political machine, a global superpower run on the petty principles of patronage, where people hold their jobs not because of their competence, but because they gave money to the president or served the machine. Into this carnival of absurdity steps Jack Smith. He is not just a prosecutor in this moment. He appears like an archaeological find from another era. Before this transformation, the Justice Department was filled with hundreds of people like him, the best of the best, senior prosecutors and FBI agents who chose public service over making millions as partners at private law firms. But those people have been purged. They were pilloried reputationally, threatened legally, and faced death threats until they resigned in what has been described as whole forests falling at once. This is the dark and terrible side of the professional ethic that used to guide the department. The idea that if you are asked to do something wrong, you resign. So the ethical people left. They followed the code. And the result is that the department no longer has those folks in it anymore. It has been hollowed out. So when Jack Smith sits there, he is the human embodiment of all that has been lost. He is the sober guy in a drunk bar at 1 a.m. The committee members attacking him are not interested in the truth. They are Donald Trump's best students in the art of lying. They operate on the belief that they can say anything, no matter how provably false, without consequence. But Smith refuses to spar with them. He offers no theatrics. His asceticism, his absolute stoicism, is the only weapon he has left against their noise. He simply delivers the headline that the machine cannot process, that he has the evidence, and that Donald Trump belongs in prison. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? In a world that rewards the loudest voice and the most shocking spectacle, is there any room left for the quiet, boring weight of the truth? Or are we looking at the last of a dying breed, a man standing on the shore while the tide of history goes out? I would love to hear what you think. Is silence a form of resistance, or is it just the sound of defeat? Let me know your thoughts. To watch this hearing unfolds is to witness the final, gasping breath of a tradition that once held the Republic together. There was a time when congressional hearings were the crucibles of truth. Think back to the Watergate hearings. Even then, there was political tribalism, and there was a certain amount of defensiveness for Richard Nixon. But as the evidence mounted, something miraculous happened. The members responded to that evidence. The facts were a shared currency, valuable and undeniable. But what we are seeing today is the decline and fall of that entire system. The people sitting across from Jack Smith are not merely skeptical legislators. They are Donald Trump's best students in the dark art of lying. They have looked at the former president and decided that they are not just going to tolerate him, they are going to try to become him. They believe they can walk into a committee hearing and lie and lie and lie because the old rules of gravity no longer apply. In a previous lifetime, if a member of Congress was caught saying something provably untrue during a hearing, that would be the end of them. The chair would go to the speaker, and that person would be removed. But the internet and the fracturing of our shared reality have erased those consequences. We have moved so far past the days when Senator Moynihan could famously say, "You are entitled to your own opinion, but not your own facts." He would only have to say that once a year because back then we largely argued from the same set of facts. Today, the facts themselves are treated like enemies of the state.
And this brings us to the terrifying paradox of Jack Smith's position. He was a taxpayer-funded prosecutor who stepped out of a different post to do an extraordinary job at a time when there was literally nothing to be gained. He followed the facts and the law, and that process resulted in proof beyond a reasonable doubt that serious crimes were committed. But in this upside-down world, his competence is his crime. He is not being persecuted because he failed. He is being punished because he succeeded. He knew he could prove it to a jury, and that certainty is exactly why the machine must destroy him. You have to ask yourself, why this spectacle? Why now? There is a darker theory swirling underneath the noise of this hearing. Many argue that this entire charade was orchestrated for one specific reason: to muddy Jack Smith up before the country gets a whole new dose of information. There is talk of a volume 2 of his report, waiting to be unsealed by the court. They need to discredit the messenger before the rest of the message arrives. They need to break him in the public eye so that when the next wave of evidence hits, it crashes against a wall of cynicism rather than the shores of justice. It leaves you with a chilling realization about the fragility of truth. We used to assume that if you uncovered the facts, justice would follow. But what happens when the facts are clear? The proof is absolute, and the only result is that the prosecutor becomes the hunted. It makes you question everything we thought we knew about accountability. I am curious, do you think facts still have the power to change minds in 2026, or have we officially entered an era where only the narrative matters? Tell me what you see from where you are standing. There is a haunting thought that lingers when you look away from the chaos of the hearing room and think about who might be watching from home. Decades ago, there was a specific kind of American nerdiness. The kid who played hooky from school, not to go to the arcade, but to watch a congressional hearing on television. In those days, you could make a safe bet that the kid staring at the screen, absorbed in the procedure and the debate, was destined to become a congressional staffer or maybe even run for office themselves one day. It was a pipeline of serious people aspiring to do serious work.
But if a child is watching this today, that kid is definitely never going to run for Congress. What was broadcast today was the exact opposite of an advertisement for public service. It was a warning sign. It told the next generation that this line of work is no longer about governance or debate. It is about survival in a toxic ecosystem. We are witnessing the systematic dismantling of the dream of public service. The structure that has replaced it is terrifying in its simplicity. They want to turn the US government into a machine, basically Tammany Hall, but armed with nuclear weapons. It is a global superpower stripped of its expertise, where people hold their jobs not because they are qualified, but because they gave the president money or because they know him. The message sent from that committee room is clear. Your job is not to serve the Constitution. Your job is to serve the machine. This is why the presence of Jack Smith feels so disorienting. He stands there like an archaeological find from a lost civilization. In a room designed for the clicktatorship, where spectacle is the only currency and outrage is the only product, he is utterly, defiantly boring. He is a serious, smart, capable person devoted to public service without fear or favor. And that is exactly why they hate him. He is the living reminder of the best, the senior prosecutors and FBI agents who have been purged, pilloried, and threatened until they left the building. We have seen whole forests of these professionals fall at once, resigning rather than violating their oaths. And now, the Department of Justice is hollowed out. Jack Smith is what remains. He is the uncomfortable truth sitting in a room that has forgotten how to be honest. It forces us to confront a brutal reality. The machine does not just want to win the argument, it wants to eliminate the very type of person who insists on having an argument based on facts at all. As we stare into this void, the question isn't just about what happens to Jack Smith. It is about what happens when the last sober person leaves the room and turns off the lights. Do you think we can rebuild a system that has been stripped of its experts? Or is this the new permanent state of our reality? I am desperate to know if you see a way back from this cliff edge. Drop your thoughts below. The most chilling part of today was not the shouting inside the hearing room. It was the silence waiting for Jack Smith on the other side of those doors. As the cameras cut away and the spectacle faded, we were left with the grim reality of what comes next. Jack Smith stated, with a calmness that belies the gravity of his situation, that he believes the President's Department of Justice will do everything in its power to indict him. Think about that. He is not facing prison because he failed to do his job. He is facing prison because he did it too well. He is being targeted because he knew, and he stated on the record, that he could prove beyond a reasonable doubt that serious crimes were committed. In any other version of America, a prosecutor who gathers irrefutable evidence is a patriot. In the year 2026, he is a target. The Republican committee members weren't just putting on a show for the sake of theater. They were sending a signal. Jack Smith himself acknowledged this. He noted that the threats and the public attacks are not just about him. They are a warning to others about what will happen if they dare to stand up. The message is being broadcast loud and clear to every future prosecutor, every FBI agent, and every civil servant. If you come for the king, the machinery of the state will grind you into dust. This is the final tragedy of the hollowed-out Justice Department. It is not just that the good people are gone. It is that the system has been re-engineered to punish competence. Jack Smith was a taxpayer-funded prosecutor who came out of retirement to do a job when there was nothing to be gained. He represents the rank-and-file professional ethic that says you follow the facts and the law no matter where they lead. But in this new clicktatorship, where the government operates like a Tammany Hall machine with nuclear codes, following the law is an act of rebellion. Yet, even as the walls close in, Smith's headline remains untouched. Amidst the insults, being called a disgrace, a Marxist, and a criminal, he managed to deliver the one sentence that history will remember: Donald Trump belongs in prison. It was a moment of absolute clarity. He stood there like a sober man in a drunk bar at closing time, watching the intoxicated patrons smash the furniture, and simply refused to pretend that the chaos was normal. He refused to pretend that the crimes didn't happen just because the criminal is now in charge. So, where does this leave us? We are watching a man who served his country by sticking to his guns, even when the leader of that country and his entire party tried to destroy him for it. The hearing today wasn't the end of the story. It was an attempt to muddy him up before the country sees what else he found. But the dignity of his resistance proves that while they can take his freedom, they cannot take the truth of what he found. The timeline we are living in is messy, and the signal is getting harder to hear through the noise. If you want to keep finding that signal with me, and if you believe that witnessing these moments matters, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and maybe leave a like if this story resonated with you. It's a small way to keep the lights on in the dark. Until next time, stay awake. He does not flinch. He does not shout back. He simply sits there while the accusations rain down on him like stones. They call him a disgrace to humanity, a radical, a criminal. These are not just words thrown around in a backroom argument. They are the official stance of the United States government. The former president, now returned to power, has posted about this man 185 times, branding him deranged, demanding his imprisonment. You can feel the weight of those threats pressing against the walls of the hearing room. It is a spectacle, a carnival of absurdity designed to break a single man. But as you watch him, you realize something unsettled is happening. The man is not breaking. Is